hope you're doing well. For this video, I thought we'd look at some Amiga games that have recently impressed me and actually kept me rather entertained here in Japan. I have to be honest that I have been mostly playing on my consoles here, like the Super Famicom, PC Engine and so forth, but I have been enjoying a bit of Amiga stuff as well, and sometimes I feel like the Amiga gets a bit of a bad rap when it comes to gaming. I think some of this is down to the fact that most people look at arcade ports and some of the games that were very popular on consoles as well, and sometimes the Amiga didn't really get the best versions of those games, it has to be said, for many reasons. For example, Rolling Thunder, fabulous arcade game that when ported to the Amiga via the wonderful tier text had all of the charm of the local problem child turning up to your grandma's 90th birthday party and kicking over the barbecue. And so I thought it'd be nice to look at some Amiga games that have come out recently that are really showing that the Amiga was a decent games platform. As was usually the case, it was the original games where the Amiga really shone, but there are a few arcade ports that are now appearing which really do just trounce all over the official ports from back in the day. So without further ado, let's get on with the games! So the first game I want to look at is a port of Missile Command by Kev G of Towerbyte Software. Now some of you may know Kev from when I used to do my streams. He used to pop in regularly and it's great to see that he has picked up development after many years hiatus, and he's created this fabulous port of Missile Command, which unfortunately I'm not particularly good at Missile Command, but it's one of those arcade cabinets that if I go to a Play Expo or similar, I'll always give it a go, that's for sure. And he's thoughtfully made sure the controls will work for both left-handed and right-handed players. I myself am right-handed, so I can use the Z, X and C keys to manipulate which missile base I'm going to shoot from, and then you use the mouse to aim your target at. So it's just very beautifully put together, and I just love the way that this retains that authentic retro feel. They're not trying to jazz up the graphics or anything like that. It just plays very solidly, and with a bit of practice I got a little bit better at it. So definitely a top recommend, and I would highly recommend that you check this out. It'll run on any 1MB Amiga, so that's pretty cool, and yeah, it's just a great deal of fun. It plays smoothly, and yeah, really all I've got to do is just work on my gameplay to get a little bit better at it, so highly recommend you check it out. It's just a very solid port of Missile Command. Okay, the next game that I want to look at is Tiny Galaga by Abyss. You'll notice that it runs in sort of like a grayscale mode, but actually I really love this aesthetic. It's something that a lot of Amiga games often lacked back in the day, was they would just use these primary colours, again often because they came from an ST port, with big heavy black outlines around these primary coloured sprites. And this just has a sort of elegance to it which was often lacking in those Amiga arcade ports. It just plays really smoothly, there's a great bonus system, you've got the challenging stages, it just plays like the arcade original as far as I'm concerned. The other thing that I really appreciate about this is the superb little shake animation when you actually get shot at, so yeah, that's just awesome. Something that Amiga games didn't always have back in the day, but really enjoy that feedback that you get on the screen. It's definitely a tough challenge and doesn't have all the refinements that later shoot-em-ups have. Highly recommend this, really do check it out. Don't be put off by the Game Boy-esque graphics. It really is up there as one of the best arcade games on the Amiga. Our next game is developed by Livery and is a port by Rob Cranley, who you may know as Daedalus, and he has ported this amazing game from Livery. It's a very simple game where basically the only aim is to dodge the rocks. So the little trick to this game now is the fact that you have two special moves. You have a jump and you have a left and right dash. The only thing is that these two special moves are not available all the time. So once you use your jump mechanic or your dash move, they won't be available for a few seconds and then they will reactivate. So you have to be very mindful of when you've used them, because you may go to double tap to do your left or right dash, or you may go to jump, and then you might find that you just can't move, and of course obviously the rocks got you. I just think that this is such a beautifully playing game. It's just got a very simple gameplay mechanic, and again has that lovely feedback in the screen which it shakes when you get hit by one of the rocks. But as the game speeds up, not only does it speed up, but you'll find that the rocks begin to not take a perfectly vertical path through the screen. So it really does provide a good challenge. This is a really great party game. I can imagine this one with a bunch of friends around and you're all challenging to beat each other's high scores. And yeah, it's just superb fun to play. You can get this from Livery's website or link, which I provided below. You can name your price and it's super reasonable. It certainly provided a lot of entertainment at Amiga Island when I was there earlier on this year, and it comes highly recommended. So a superb port by Rob Cranley, and yeah, just get on it, I would say. BombJack got an official Amiga port courtesy of Elite, but as many of you will know that it wasn't a particularly great version. Now this has been corrected in this new version by Graham Cowie, who created BombJack Beer Edition. One of the things that is overlooked sometimes when looking at Amiga arcade ports is not just the graphics or how the character moves, whether it's smooth or the audio, but is actually the mechanics of the game. Now, the Amiga port of BombJack had a bit of a problem insofar as, if you ask me, I felt the controls were just too floaty, that the BombJack, or BombJack himself, just stayed in the air just a little bit too long. But worse than that, the enemies seemed to drop to the bottom of the screen far too quickly, if you ask me, meaning that if you left any of the bombs that you'd yet to collect down the bottom of the screen, it made it so difficult compared to the arcade original to actually collect them. Now the Beer Edition actually fixes this, as well as making the gameplay so much smoother. It's just a superb version. Again, this will run on a 1MB Amiga 500, and this gameplay is smooth, the enemy patterns appear to be fixed, the audio is great, and it just makes one of those really great games to play that is just pick up, get your joystick, or if you're using UAE, your keyboard on your laptop or your computer, and just get stuck in. It's one of those games that you think, yeah, I'll just give BombJack a go for 5 minutes, and next thing you know, 1 hour's gone by and you're trying to beat your high score. So that's the perfect arcade port, if you ask me. Something that is just pick up, play, and the next thing you know, half the evening's gone. So highly recommended, and you can find the links in the video description. So thanks Graham, awesome port. Now some of you may say, am I going to look at Ryguard that Graham Cowie did as well? No, actually I'm not going to look at that. I'm going to look at it in a separate video, which will be coming down the pike sometime in the future. Rainbow Islands is a game very dear to my heart, so much so that I recently reviewed it. But another game that's very close to my heart is Bubble Bobble. In fact, the whole trilogy of the Rainbow Islands or Bubble Bobble games, including Parasol Stars, is something that is very close to my heart. And one of the things that has always bugged me is that whilst the Amiga got a fairly decent port of Bubble Bobble back in the day, it still was an Atari ST port, and it lacked a few things that the arcade original had. And one of the key things to me that always bugged me about it was how slow the main sprites actually moved, including your players Bub and Bob, but also the enemy patterns. It just seemed to move along a little bit slow, and this all stems from, of course, being an ST port. On the ST version, it just moved that little bit better. The other thing that bugged me about it was that it had one of those really ugly panels down the right hand side of the screen, which just bugged the hell out of me for some reason. I always hated those panels on the right. I always preferred it when it was kept much more simple, where you had the scores and so forth, sort of just at the top or maybe the bottom of the screen. And this port of Tiny Bobble, again by Abyss, who did Tiny Galaxian, fixes all of these flaws and then actually enhances it. It's just such a solid, smooth playing game. Tiny Bobble is exactly that kind of game where you think, yes, I'll play that for 20 minutes. Next thing you know, it's got dark, there are no lights on, you're late having dinner, 2 hours are gone, and you just don't know where the time has gone. That's what I love about these recent ports of these arcade games. They've just been done so well. In fact, they just contain the most important thing, good gameplay. That was something that was missed so often with these Amiga ports of games. Okay, the original Amiga Bubble Bobble certainly had plenty of gameplay, but it was just flawed enough for me to be looking for a port of Bubble Bobble to the Nintendo DS that I could enjoy here in Japan. But now I don't need to, because the Amiga now has 3 superb ports in this trilogy of Bubble Bobble, Rainbow Islands and Parasol Stars. Get it if you haven't already, I can guarantee that you're going to enjoy it. So that's 5 superb little games that you can get for your Amiga in 2020. Some original games, some arcade ports. I think you'll really enjoy all of these, so I hope you get a chance to play on these. Obviously the footage here has been recorded through FSUAE on my Mac because sadly I don't have my Amiga here in Japan, but you can see that whichever way that you play these, whether it's through your Amiga 500 or 600 with a zip stick, or whether it's through UAE like I have been doing, you're going to have a good time with these. So just goes to show you Amiga can pull off good games, as we always knew it could. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I guess that all the remains for me to say is see you soon. Peace! So it's come to that part of the video where I mention that I'm on Patreon. From as little as $2 a month you can get early access to content, exclusive artwork through the post, a name mentioned on videos, as well as tips that I don't publish to the public. You can find a link in the video description below. Your subscription to my channel will also help me ensure that I can bring the latest content here from Japan.